כי מה שקורה בימים האחרונים בדרום תל אביב ובכלל זה לא משהו, אנשים חושבים שהסודנים בישראל עושים בעיות, אבל אנחנו באנו לפה כדי להראות לכם שלא, זה לא בעיה שלנו, זה הבעיה של הממשלה של ישראל. I just want to change the language because I am going to address in English. No racism. Stop racism against the refugees. Stop discrimination against the refugees. No.
मैंने शबाब इंतु नाज निजाम दे दो जोड़ आना शबाब तो मुझे नाज इंतु ना कर लो इंतु नाज निजाम दे माइंड को मैंने शबाब इंतु मुनज़्ज़िमीन दे
We are here today to show you that we are refugees. We are not criminals. We are coming from the war-torn areas, Sudan, which is well known internationally, that's committing crimes against humanity, war crimes, which the president of Sudan is accused of committing genocide in Darfur, Blue Nile and Niver Mountain. And why Israeli people don't recognize that? We came here today to show you that we're real refugees, we're not criminals, and we're not cancer, as the Prime Minister and his people describing us. As the refugees from Africa and Sudan in particular, we came here to tell to the UN, which is responsible for the refugees' right in the world. We're here today to show to the Israeli citizens that the violence against refugees will not solve the problem. Only solution to the problem is the negotiations. They have to sit with us and talk. What's going to happen at the end of the day, there will be solution. And we came here also today to send a clear message to Elishai, who is always accusing us as infiltrators. They have to change the word of infiltrators. Upon our arrival to in Israel, and until today, we're not recognized as the refugees. Despite our flight from the country that committed genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, its residents and its president is wanted by international community. The criminal court has issued arrest warrant against al-Bashir, but Israel, the public, doesn't recognize that really Bashir is a threat to the people of Sudan and the people of Darfur. The government of Sudan really perpetrated atrocities against its own citizens. And according to the rights groups around the world, that the protection and definition of someone who escaped from the war is a refugee. We already know that there is a word called refugee status determination. But why Israel doesn't really recognize those guys whose determination is being determined by the Geneva Convention as refugees? As the refugees, we're supposed to be protected by the state which is hosting us, instead of committing the crimes against the refugees in South Tel Aviv. We are the refugees. We are accused of committing crimes against the Israeli citizens. But I want to assure you that no Sudanese, no person from Africa has committed the crimes. All this vandalism, it's being made by the Knesset members who really are against the refugees, and they want to make a vandalism. They want to create a problem between refugees community and Israeli population who are sitting in South Tel Aviv. But this is not the problem. The problem is the government himself. If you welcome someone in your home, you first need to tell him where to stay, what is the law of the state. The orientation is a problem. because the state has never even opened a school to teach the refugees and to tell them which place to stay, where is a good place. They have no place to sleep. They're staying in the park. "7 years in the same scenario, infiltrators." This is a word which has been as a rhetoric that's used by the Israeli government. They were recognized as the refugees, but as infiltrators. But we need to know the definition of this word. We're recommending and asking the Israeli government to show us what that means, infiltrator, in their definition. Seven-year scenario which creates instability, psychological distress, and increased concerns about Sudanese refugees fleeing the bombardments of their government, genocide and riot of Egyptian security forces in the field of Mustafa Mahmoud. We do know that we one day demonstrated in front of the UN in Mustafa Mahmoud, and it happened. They killed hundreds of people. But today we're also in front of UN because we want to show to the UN that we are refugees. The crimes that happen against us from Sudan and Egypt and Sinai, that we do remember that what happened to the people in Sinai and today in Israel. We also concerned about the situation in South Tel Aviv, what happened against the refugees by Israeli nationals who are hitting the people, burning their houses. And you know, the kindergartens are already burned by the Israeli nationals. But we want to tell them, we're not against you. We are the people who escaped from war. We are the people whose homeland is being conquered by the people from Saudi Arabia and people from Arabia as whole. But today we're here to show you that we're really refugees and we have no place to turn to. But we're calling for Israeli society and government to look for the solutions. And we're not going to be in the jail, that's for sure. And we're not going to be in the close place like, you know, animals. We're human beings, actually. We're not going to be in the places like this. As the Sudanese refugees were abused both verbally and physically, one of the most provocative and deplorable statements that describe us as the blacks, cancer, AIDS, and HIV on the people of Israel. But really we're not HIV, we're not cancer, and we're black, we know for sure, but it doesn't mean that we're not. The statements were declared publicly an official level by some ministers and ministers of the Knesset member like Danny Danon and Mir Rajab, who declared clearly against the refugees, who do not remember that the kind of genocide or Holocaust that happened to the Jewish people in 20th century. One of the most horrific massacres that humankind encountered in the world in the Second World War. And in the world history as well. The burning of Jews in Germany, genocide in Rwanda, DRC, which is called the Congo, and South Sudan, Blue Nile, and Nuba Mountain, and the ongoing genocide in Darfur. In this intense and painful period, we are writing this letter and sending a clear message to the government of Israel and the people of Israel entirely that we have experienced it as such traumatizing situation by the government and its own people. But we're not here because we are enemies. We do know that we came from Sudan, which is an enemy state. But people, what you see here, they're not against Israel. They're against the laws that imposed by the government of Sudan. And that's why we're opposing the government of Sudan, and we're here in Israel. To these refugees and presidents of human rights, we want to see what are the human rights. What does that mean, even the human rights itself? Do we really got our rights?
תשמע, זה לא נורמלי. הכל בסדר שהם יפגינו, אבל תאפשר את הכל.
We now have 4 points. We have 4 points that we want to declare. Our 4 points are going to be is the UN. First of all, we request the change of the word infiltrators that the government and its people use as a rhetoric or incitement against us as refugees, and the provision of basic rights that gave us the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and to stop racism until peace and stability be arrived in our country, Sudan. And then we will be the messengers of love and peace between 2 nations. Instead of being criminals, we are the messengers of peace and security between 2 nations. The second point, or the first point, is to convert a file of Sudanese refugees from the government to the UN office. Because we are refugees, our file is supposed to be in the UN office rather than being in Interior Ministry. Or the second option, they have to open resettlement programs. Open third country resettlement programs to political asylum seekers, because we are political asylum seekers. We are not migrant workers. We came here as the people who are victims of genocide in Sudan. Number 4, deportation to Sudan. We agree if they want to deport us, but there are conditions on the table. First of all, there must be international guarantee that the Sudanese government will never ever execute anyone who came from Israel. Because we do know that everyone and each of us who crosses Israeli-Egyptian border is being convicted by the government of Sudan and awaiting his conviction or death penalty if he returns back home. So we are going back to Sudan, but if there is an international guarantee, we will go back. Without that, there is no return for Sudanese refugees. We're not going to go back. As an organization and people of Sudan and Darfur or African people in Israel, we are here today to send you this message. We are the refugees. We need a solution. We are the refugees. We don't want to stay in the same situation. We don't want to see the people sleeping in the park. We don't want to see the people who don't have places to sleep. We need a solution from the government of Israel. We need the government to take action in order to solve the problem in South Tel Aviv. And the UN office, which is we are appointed, also has to work actively and practically with the Israeli government in order to make sure that any refugee in Israel has got his right and has got the place to stay. It's very shameful, as I am standing outside here, to see the people here in Israel. Israel as a developed state to lead people in the park and letting them without giving them the right, welcoming them inside without any political solution. The Israeli government is not really putting a clear policy toward refugees. As a refugees, this is not our first time to demonstrate before the UN. This is the second and third time, and we're 100% sure we're going to continue until we get our rights, and thank you.